analysis when it comes to Maurice Jones-Drew. You guys say he should have not. He should have reported to practice. But when you don't have your contract, let's say he does report to practice, and God forbid, if he gets injured, he has no medical support from the organization. So that's the reason why he didn't report to practice.
But he could have started.
When you have the contract, you receive the medical support. Let me talk here. I'm Peter from Arkansas, so don't mess with me. I know what to do, okay? I've been to this show before. I've been on the Dan Patrick show. I've been on Colin Coward's show, so I know how to call in and be a good guest, okay? So just trust me with this one. You guys, I know you want Jones-Drew to report, but he has to have the medical support. I love your opinion, but trust Peter from Arkansas. Thank you.
Well, this is our opinion, though.
Yeah, this is our opinion. So I don't care if you've been on the Colin Coward show and stated your opinion. This is our opinion. This is our show. You can't really do anything about it, Mr. Peter from Arkansas. So I think that Maurice Jones-Drew, I think he did this for the money, obviously. He wants to get more money. He's done very good, and I really like him as a player. He's done very good in the NFL. He's the leading rusher last year, and he can't take that title away from anyone. So I think what Pete said is half right, and there's some other things that are half wrong from what Pete said. So Arbor, what do you have to say about that?
I disagree with him. I agree with Steven on this. You have to report. I mean, what if let's give an example for some running backs that didn't show up. Frank Gore, if he didn't show up, we would have, well, technically they have really good backups.
Yeah.
But Brandon Jacobs would not be prepared.
Well, he was a starter. Ahmad Bradshaw and Jacobs did share the snaps last year as the main running backs, but you have the concern of Jacobs being injured a lot because he's a very big running back, and so his job as a running back is to be kind of like a Frank Gore, is to have some speed, but also to go through the hole with lots of power, for a lot of forward momentum, really pushing the offensive line to really give him some yards. So, and then also the two other running backs for the Niners, if they didn't have Gore, was Michael James, the running back who the Niners took out of the draft in the second round out of Oregon. So, and he doesn't have any really doesn't have any experience. He's a rookie. And then Kendall Hunter, I think he could have been a good one because I think that he has a lot of experience, and I think he could be pretty good. And we actually have a caller on the line, and this is our special guest, a NFL analyst. He has a show very soon. After the show ends, it'll be the NFL Goal Line with Nick and Phil. It's Nick Rice on the line. Nick, welcome to Deits and Stevens All Out Sports Show.
Thanks for having me, guys, and I'm looking forward to any NFL analysis that you have with me, and I'm ready to go. Thanks for having me on.
All right, well, let's go to Ryan Matthews for the San Diego Chargers, and he's hopeful for Week 1. What do you think? Do you think Ryan Matthews will start?
Well, first of all, being a Chargers fan, of course, I'm really glad that Matthews, his status means that he's playing for Week 1. And for a team like the Chargers who don't have a backfield tandem outside of Matthews that is even remotely good, with Donald Brown and Curtis Brinkley, two no-name guys that can't even run for more than 3 yards to carry, I'm really excited to see Ryan Matthews back Week 1, especially with this offensive line being so up and down. We could really use a guy like Matthews to take control of the Raiders in our opening game this year.
Hey, Nick, it's Steven. Like you said, the Chargers are playing the Raiders on Monday night on the season opener on ESPN. How do you think Ryan Matthews will do if he does play against the Raiders?
For a team like the Raiders, it's interesting how year in and year out, of any team in the NFL, probably one of the most stable defensive lines in football would be the Oakland Raiders, with, anchored by expatriate Richard Seymour. They really are a top defensive line, possibly the most underrated line in all of football. I think that Ryan Matthews will have a challenge getting past that front four, but For a team like the Chargers who depend on that running game and then use the pass later on, especially with Rivers throwing so many picks last year, I think that for Ryan Matthews, anything short of maybe 80 or 90 yards and possibly 4 yards to carry would be an extreme disappointment. I think that Matthews probably will cross the century mark in rushing in week 1. It all depends on how that D-line plays in their opening game of the year for the Raiders. But honestly, I feel like it'll be a comeback game to remember for Matthews.
You know, how much carries do you think he'll get this game? Because he's hopeful. Do you think that if he did start, how much carries would he get?
Now, the thing is, for this question, I mean, with all of in the preseason, I mean, I've been all over the Chargers preseason games, and I'm not impressed with the Chargers passing game, and I'm sure the coaching staff for San Diego isn't either, led by North Turner. I feel like Matthews probably will get more carries coming off the injury than we would expect, maybe even a 20-plus carry game, because for the Raiders, it's one of those scenarios where once you get past that D-line, I mean, you just give Matthews some sort of a crease, maybe 1 or 2 big holes in the entire game, and he can turn into a 50, 60-yard play when need be. I feel like Matthews will probably be the lead. He'll get more rushes than Rivers throws in this game just by the way that the Raiders match up. The Raiders have a young linebacking and secondary crew that can cover when they really have to make the big play. So for a team like the Chargers, running the football would be the best idea, possibly maybe even 25 carries for Monday night's matchup.
Hey, Nick, it's Steven again. You're the Chargers beat reporter for this station, and from what you stated, there's a lot of great facts on what you're bringing, what you're thinking of how this game's going to go. Give me the prediction of the winner and the score of this game.
Well, for the Chargers, I mean, in the preseason for all 32 teams, not just these two in this matchup, I mean, the preseason is extremely misleading. So for a team like the Raiders, obviously led by Carson Palmer, they have not looked good at all in the preseason. But for a team like Oakland, I do see them perhaps making one of those wild card pushes, but early on, led by a new coaching staff, and honestly, their lack of free agent acquisitions really concerns me, especially for a team that does need help on the offensive side. I feel like in this game, it'll probably go San Diego's way, but in the season, I mean, maybe later on when they have to face again in San Diego, it might be a different story, but for right now, I think the Chargers will probably pull it out, led by, of course, Ryan Matthews if he plays. I see the score possibly one of those low-scoring, tight battles that is right down to the wire, nothing better than prime time, maybe 23-20 final score, but obviously should be very interesting and what better than Monday night.
You know, I want to ask you, how does the AFC West look? What team do you think will come out on top?
And will the Raiders, like you said, possibly be a wild card team to look at if they are making a push for the playoffs near the end of the year?
Yeah, and real quick for the Oakland Raiders' sake, I mean, I don't see the Raiders making it because of how good they are, but possibly more as, kind of like a default thing because, I mean, for this entire conference, you can't name more than 4 or 5 teams that even have a remote chance for the playoffs. I mean, you say the Steelers, possibly, maybe. I mean, a lot of question marks there. You have the Ravens, Patriots, the Texans, for sure thing, and then I see my division winner in the West, possibly the Broncos, and there's your AFC team. So I see that the 6th seed, either the Raiders or the Bills will get it, and are you kidding me, Buffalo, with all the questions they have at receiver? I think it goes the Raiders' way, but it's Peyton Manning's team to lose in that division because for a team like the Broncos winning 10 games on the arm of Tim Tebow, are you kidding me? Now they bring in the guy, a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, excuse me. And Peyton Manning, I feel like it's a 10 or 11 win season for Denver. And believe it or not, I feel like Peyton Manning will be carried by, yes, the defense. For Denver, they ranked in the top 10 in that category last year. Believe it or not, it was all on that side of the football last year. So I feel like it's Denver's division to lose, and their opening stretch of home games and their first 8 games, most notably, are really easy. So for Denver, it's their division to lose.
Nick, one more time, Steven. Just quick question. You're talking about the Texans maybe possibly being a team. I'm looking at the Titans being a team. How do you think about them if they could possibly be the surprise team and take off the Texans?
For a team like the Titans, there's just way too many question marks. I mean, in the preseason, I could not find a more disappointing team than Tennessee, and especially in that division. I mean, it's just there's so much flux all over the AFC South. Even a team like the Texans don't look very hot going into the regular season, and I don't see a team like Tennessee led by Jake Walker, who has played absolutely terrible in the preseason, and then Chris Johnson, very inconsistent. Last year played really bad. And Tennessee as a whole unit did not have any sort of a spark all year long. And then you include Kenny Britt. Will he even see the field with all of his off-the-field, distractions? Honestly, I feel like Tennessee, it's their year to go 5-11, and they're a transition team. I don't see them winning the South. I think it's all Texans, especially with Houston. If Andre is healthy along with Schaub, I feel like it's the Texans to sweep the Titans, and maybe Tennessee goes perhaps 7-9, but nothing good for the Titans. I mean, Jake Walker is just a terrible quarterback. Let's just get that out of the way.
So, Nick, also I would like to say, about the game with the San Diego Chargers, their last preseason game with the Niners and San Diego. What does San Diego have to improve on? Because I know they got destroyed 35-3, not even scoring a touchdown.
Well, for San Diego, it's been for so many years, it's their inability to provide, their inability to play in key situations. Now, in a 35-3 game, you don't have very many opportunities to provide a clutch play to win a game. But for the San Diego Chargers, it's one of those situations at wide receiver where you plug in 3 or 4 guys that weren't even there last year. I mean, probably one of those aspects of playing football that is, one of those things that everyone overlooks is the quarterback to receiver, that chemistry that they make during the offseason. That's why last year so many rookies had such big, play potential. You have A.J. Green being one of those 1,000-yard receiving years. You just don't see that in the NFL. So for a team like the Chargers, they bring in so many new receivers early in the year. I think this quarterback in Phillip Rivers, it's one of those things that you want to look out for. How will Rivers connect with all this new play, all this new target, over in San Diego? I feel like right now that's the biggest concern. Deits is their only lock in the receiving, obviously he plays tight end. We don't have any receivers that really are go-to guys, especially with Vincent Brown being injured. He was supposed to be our number one. So I'm very concerned about our offensive passing game, which is why I see Matthews having the bulk of the offense in the opening week.
Oh, and I also like to say, who do you think's the best team? Who's going to be the best team in the NFL?
The best team in the NFL. Now, based on wins and based on the best overall team, it's 2 different questions. Because for the most wins in the NFL now, let's just backtrack to last year. The Green Bay Packers had the most wins, 15-1, and then absolutely fell apart in the playoffs. So it's interesting how the best team not necessarily ends up, winning big in the playoffs, but I feel like a team, not many people are high on the Falcons, but I think Atlanta, with their very easy schedule, can pull off 14, most likely 13, but maybe even 14 and perhaps 15 wins. I mean, that's very unheard of in the NFL, but Atlanta has an extremely easy schedule, an easy division, and big play targets at receiver, and obviously Matt Ryan is their stability at quarterback. I feel like a team like the Falcons will have the most wins, and maybe the best team in the NFL. I mean, I'm very hard-pressed to go against the Packers or even a team like the Niners. I feel like one of those 2 teams will make it into the Super Bowl in the NFC. But I feel like just the best team with wins is concerned is the Falcons, believe it or not.
that's actually